I didn't ask my mother-in-law nicely to hand over the baby for feeding. My wife had our first baby 3 months ago, and her mom Janet moved in to help out. At first it seemed great. Someone to do dishes, hold the baby while we showered, all that stuff, but Janet had other plans. She'd literally snatch our daughter Sophie right out of my arms whenever I was holding her. If Sophie was crying and I went to pick her up, Janet would push past me like I didn't exist. "I've got her," she'd say, already lifting Sophie before I could even react. The worst part was feeding time. My wife was breastfeeding, but we'd started mixing in some formula bottles so I could help with night feeds. Janet would hover around my wife like a hawk, watching her every move. Then she'd take the baby and refuse to give her back when it was bottle time. "You're doing it wrong," Janet would say when I tried to take Sophie for her bottle. "Let me show you." Then she'd keep the baby for the next 2 hours. Last Tuesday, my wife was exhausted from being up all night. Sophie was fussing around lunchtime and I could tell she was getting hungry. My wife was trying to eat something for the first time that day. I went to take Sophie from Janet, who was bouncing her on the couch. "I need to feed her," I said, reaching for my daughter. Janet pulled Sophie away from me. "She's fine. I just got her settled." Sophie was clearly rooting around, making those little hungry sounds. My wife looked over, still chewing her sandwich. "Janet, she needs to eat," my wife said quietly. "In a minute," Janet replied, not even looking at us. That's when something in me snapped. I'd been tiptoeing around this woman for 3 months while she basically took over parenting my own kid. "Give me my daughter. Now!" I said it loud and firm. Janet's eyes went wide. "Excuse me?" "You heard me. Hand her over." I held out my arms and stepped closer. "You don't need to be so rude," Janet said, but she was already reluctantly passing Sophie to me. "Rude? I asked you 3 times nicely. This is me not asking nicely." The room got real quiet. My wife stopped chewing. Janet's face turned red. "I was just trying to help," Janet muttered. Helping would be letting the parents actually parent their child. I took Sophie and started preparing her bottle. "This is our baby, not yours." Janet stood there for a second, then stomped off to her room. She didn't come out for dinner. That night, my wife found me in the nursery during Sophie's night feed. "I should have said something sooner," she whispered. "Mom's been doing this since she got here, taking over everything." "Why didn't you?" I asked, shifting Sophie to my shoulder to burp her. "I don't know. She raised 5 kids. I figured she knew better than us." My wife sat down in the rocking chair next to me. "But watching her refuse to give you Sophie today, that wasn't right." The next morning, Janet was packing her bags in the living room. She'd booked herself a flight home. "I can see I'm not welcome here," she announced when we came downstairs for breakfast. "You're welcome here," my wife said, "but as a grandmother, not as Sophie's primary caregiver." Janet huffed and continued folding her clothes. "I raised 5 successful children. I think I know what I'm doing. And we're raising 1, I said, making coffee. "Our 1. She left that afternoon. Before getting in her Uber, she hugged Sophie and told my wife she'd call when we came to our senses. It's been 2 weeks since Janet left. Sophie still cries, still needs feeding every few hours, still keeps us up at night. But now, when she's crying, I can actually pick up my own daughter without someone shoving me out of the way. When it's feeding time, I can give her a bottle without a lecture about my technique